The ceiling tiles blurred as John Watson blinked away tears, fluorescent lights stabbing at his eyes. Outside his curtained bay, he heard chaos erupting in the ER. Urgent whispers, a metal tray clattering. "Oh my God," a young voice gasped. "They're moving under his skin." John's trembling fingers reached toward his grotesquely swollen face, but a gloved hand intercepted his wrist. "Don't touch it, Mr. Watson," Dr. Reynolds warned, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. Through the gap in the curtains, John glimpsed a young medical student slump against the wall in a dead faint. "What's happening?" he whispered, panic rising as he felt it, a distinct crawling sensation beneath his inflamed skin, like dozens of tiny fingers pushing outward. "Someone get CDC on the line now," Dr. Reynolds shouted. John Watson had never considered himself easily frightened. At 62, he'd spent 35 years as an ER nurse at Memorial Regional, witnessing everything from catastrophic injuries to bizarre medical anomalies. "I've seen it all," he'd often tell his son Michael. "Nothing gets under my skin anymore." The irony of that statement wasn't lost on him now. 3 years earlier, John had watched his wife Sarah fade away, cancer eating her from the inside out over 18 agonizing months. Her medical bills had devoured their retirement savings, leaving him with a modest pension and a house too large for one person. Michael, now a 29-year-old surgeon, had suggested selling it countless times. "Dad, it's too much house, too many memories. You need a fresh start." "This house is my life with your mother," John would counter, his voice taking on the steel edge that did little to mend the growing rift with his son. Their conversations had dwindled to obligatory check-ins, punctuated by arguments about John's isolation. "You can't just exist, Dad. Mom would want you to live," Michael had pleaded last month. Something in his son's voice had finally broken through. The Florida trip was John's first attempt at fulfilling that promise. A solo vacation to the Everglades, Sarah's favorite spot for birdwatching. "I'm trying, Sarah," he'd whispered to the empty seat beside him on the flight to Miami. John had always prided himself on his medical knowledge and physical resilience. This professional confidence had morphed into stubborn self-reliance that Michael found maddening. It was why John had ignored the initial symptoms upon returning from Florida. The small red marks, the persistent itch, the gradually increasing pain. "Just bug bites," he told himself, applying over-the-counter creams and taking ibuprofen. By the time he admitted something was seriously wrong, his face had swollen beyond recognition. John woke at 3 a.m. to pulsing pain radiating across the right side of his face. The Florida vacation had ended 4 days ago, but the cluster of mosquito bites near his temple had grown increasingly irritated. In the harsh bathroom light, he winced at his reflection. The swelling had doubled overnight, stretching from his eye to his jaw. "Just an allergic reaction," he muttered, swallowing Benadryl with ibuprofen and applying hydrocortisone cream. By morning, his right eye had nearly swollen shut. When Michael called for their daily check-in, John positioned the phone carefully away from the camera. "You're awfully quiet today, Dad," Michael remarked. "Just tired. The trip took more out of me than I expected." "Are you sure that's all? You sound different." "I'm fine," John insisted, wincing as sharp pain shot through his jaw. By evening, the pain had become constant throbbing. The swelling had hardened, and when he pressed gently near his temple, he felt something strange, a slight movement beneath the surface. "That's not normal," he whispered, medical alarm bells finally overriding his stubborn self-reliance. At midnight, unable to sleep, John called Michael. "Dad, what's wrong?" Michael answered instantly alert. "I think I might need to go to the ER." "What's happening?" "My face, there's swelling, bad swelling and pain." "How long has this been going on?" "A few days since Florida, but it's worse tonight." "A few days? Why didn't you say something earlier?" "I'm coming over." Michael arrived in 15 minutes. His sharp intake of breath when John opened the door said everything. "My God, Dad, this isn't just swelling. Your face is twice its normal size." Memorial Regional's emergency entrance felt eerily familiar to John. The same sliding doors he'd walked through thousands of times as a nurse, now from the other side. The triage nurse took one look at his face and immediately ushered them back. "Nancy." John called to an older nurse walking by. Recognition dawned on her face. John Watson, is that you? 20 years together in this and you almost don't recognize me. John attempted a smile that turned into a grimace. Nancy squeezed his hand. I'll get Dr. Reynolds. He's the best on tonight. Dr. Thomas Reynolds was younger than John expected, mid-40s with premature silver at his temples. How long has it been like this, Mr. Watson? It's been gradually getting worse for about 4 days, Michael answered before John could downplay it. He's a retired ER nurse and has been self-treating. Dr. Reynolds nodded, gently palpating the swollen area. Any history of allergies, new medications? No, John winced. Just these mosquito bites from Florida that wouldn't heal. Florida? Where exactly? Everglades. I was bird watching on a remote beach area. Dr. Reynolds leaned closer with a penlight. His expression changed subtly. There appear to be small, punctate lesions across the swollen area. He pressed gently on the edge of the swelling. John gasped, not just from pain, but from the strange sensation of something shifting position beneath his skin. Dr. Reynolds stepped back abruptly. I'd like to get Dr. Hayes to take a look. She's our dermatologist on call. While they waited, Michael held his father's hand. Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? I didn't want to worry you, John admitted. And I thought I could handle it. You're not invincible, Dad. No one is. Dr. Amanda Hayes arrived 15 minutes later. Under her magnifying lens, she carefully studied the affected area. I can see several small openings in the skin. They appear to be breathing holes. Breathing holes? Michael echoed. Dr. Hayes chose her words carefully. I believe we may be dealing with cutaneous myiasis, a parasitic infection caused by fly larvae. Larvae? John whispered. You mean? I believe there are parasitic larvae developing beneath your skin, Mr. Watson. Likely from a species of botfly common in tropical regions. The room fell silent. For all his medical experience, John had never faced something living inside him. Michael's hand tightened around his. We need to prepare for immediate extraction, Dr. Hayes continued. I'll contact the CDC for protocol guidance. As they prepared John for surgery, he caught glimpses of staff reactions. Medical personnel gathered in clusters, glancing toward his room with expressions ranging from curiosity to revulsion. They're talking about me, he whispered to Michael. They're preparing to help you, Michael corrected, though his eyes tracked the unusual commotion. The treatment room felt cold. Dr. Hayes prepared an ultrasound device. We'll need to assess the extent of the infestation, she explained. John flinched at the word infestation. The ultrasound image appeared on screen. Dr. Hayes froze the image, tracing several small oval shapes beneath John's skin. Multiple larvae. I count at least 30 in this view alone. Michael leaned closer. They're much deeper than I expected. That's what concerns me. Dr. Hayes adjusted the probe. They're migrating inward rather than toward the skin surface. She moved toward John's temple and stiffened. Dr. Reynolds, could you look at this? Dr. Reynolds studied the image with a deepening frown. What is it? John asked. Michael answered, his voice cracking slightly. Some of the larvae have migrated dangerously close to your optical nerve pathway. Meaning, Dr. Hayes met John's gaze directly, if we don't extract them within the next 24 hours, you risk permanent damage to your vision, possibly blindness in your right eye. We've consulted with CDC, Dr. Reynolds explained later. They're sending a specialist, but they can't get someone here until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow? But you said we have 24 hours. We'll proceed with preliminary treatment now. Dr. Hayes will extract the larvae closest to the optical nerve, but CDC has advised against complete removal until their specialist arrives. What about the cost? John asked. My insurance coverage isn't what it used to be. Dr. Reynolds and Michael exchanged a glance. Let's focus on the immediate medical needs. Financial services can discuss options later. The hospital administrator, Mr. Carlson, entered with a forced smile. Mr. Watson, I understand you're a former employee. I want to assure you we're providing the very best care while respecting your privacy during this unusual situation. The emphasis on privacy wasn't subtle. "I'm not planning to call a press conference about the bugs in my face," John said dryly. After Carlson left, John let out a humorless laugh. "They're terrified this will damage the hospital's reputation." "Can you blame them?" Michael asked. "It's not exactly a routine case." "No, but it is a case of a human being in pain, something this hospital seems to have momentarily forgotten." The preliminary procedure took 3 hours. Dr. Hayes successfully removed 7 larvae dangerously close to John's optical nerve. When John regained consciousness, Michael was beside the bed. "How bad was it?" John's voice came out raspy. "Dr. Hayes successfully removed the ones threatening your vision. The procedure went well." 7 out of how many? Michael hesitated. The ultrasound showed approximately 40 to 50 total. The extraction revealed there are likely more at different developmental stages. John closed his eyes, fighting nausea. "When will they remove the rest?" "The CDC specialist arrives at 6 tomorrow morning." "Lucky me," John muttered. "I've become a medical oddity in my own hospital." "You're not an oddity, Dad. You're a patient with a rare tropical parasite infection." "Is that why 2 nurses were filming the procedure on their phones?" Michael's expression hardened. "What? Who?" "I was sedated, not unconscious. I saw them behind Dr. Hayes." "I'll speak to administration immediately." "Don't bother. Just get me out of here once these things are gone." Around 3 a.m., John woke to searing pain. Michael startled awake in the chair beside the bed. "Dad, what's wrong?" "Pain," John managed through gritted teeth. "Something's wrong. This isn't just surgical pain." Michael was on his feet instantly, checking vitals. "Your next pain dose isn't due for another hour." "Trust me," John hissed. 35 years as a nurse. "I know when something isn't right." Michael pressed the call button and carefully peeled back the bandage. What he saw made his breath catch. "Page Dr. Hayes and Dr. Everson immediately," Michael instructed the nurse. "And bring the portable ultrasound." The ultrasound revealed the nightmare. The remaining larvae were multiplying. "Some of these species reproduce differently than we expected," Dr. Everson explained grimly. "The surgical intervention may have triggered a defensive response. We're seeing new larval development." "We need to go back in immediately," Dr. Hayes announced. Within 30 minutes, John was being wheeled back to surgery. "We're going to fix this, Dad." "I promise," Michael said, already in surgical scrubs. John wanted to tell his son not to make promises medicine couldn't always keep. But darkness pulled him under. The second surgery lasted 6 hours. The team extracted 93 larvae in total, most newly developed since the first procedure. Extensive debridement completed, Dr. Hayes announced, exhausted. "All visible larvae removed." "I'm concerned about microscopically visible eggs," Dr. Everson admitted. "With this reproductive pattern, we can't be certain we've eliminated all potential for recurrence." Dr. Hayes turned to the nurse. "Take him directly to ICU. I want continuous monitoring." Michael remained by his father's side during the transfer. In the harsh morning light, John's face was almost unrecognizable, swollen, discolored, covered with extensive bandaging. "Will he?" Michael began, then stopped. Dr. Everson understood. "Facial nerve damage is likely. Some muscle function may be permanently affected. And his vision, we won't know until he's conscious." 3 days later, John was moved from ICU to a private room. As Michael helped settle him, John's gaze lingered on every reflective surface, yet never quite looking at his own image. "Mirror," he finally requested. "Dad, it might be better to wait." "Mirror," John repeated more forcefully. With reluctance, Michael retrieved a small mirror. "Remember, what you're seeing now is temporary." John took the mirror, steeling himself. His eyes widened, then filled with tears as he confronted his transformed appearance. The right side of his face remained significantly swollen with visible suture lines. More concerning was the noticeable drooping at the corner of his mouth and eye. After a long moment, John lowered the mirror. "Well, I won't be winning any beauty pageants." The attempt at humor didn't mask the shock in his eyes. The nerve function may still recover, Michael offered. It's too early to know the permanent extent. Dr. Everson arrived with his findings. We've identified 3 distinct parasitic species in your samples, Mr. Watson. 2 are variants of Dermatobia hominis, the human botfly. The 3rd is extremely rare in North America, Cordylobia anthropophaga, the tumblefly, native to sub-Saharan Africa. I've never been to Africa, John stated. Exactly why this is significant. This suggests you encountered someone or something that had recently been in an endemic region. John thought carefully. The botanical garden. There was a volunteer leading a tour who mentioned just returning from a research trip to Tanzania. I spoke with him for quite a while. That could be the connection, Michael noted. Over the following weeks, John endured the scrutiny, the whispers, the uncomfortable reactions. Staff members who had once been colleagues now treated him like a spectacle. One afternoon, the hospital's legal counsel appeared, asking questions clearly designed to establish John had behaved negligently. Did you ignore posted warnings? Venture into restricted areas. Vultures, John muttered after they left. They're trying to protect the hospital from liability. Throughout it all, Michael remained steadfast. Their relationship, once strained by grief and distance, had transformed through crisis. Finally, Michael made a proposal. Boston General has one of the best facial reconstruction programs in the country. We could transfer your care there, and I could accept a fellowship position in their tropical medicine unit. John studied his son. You're proposing uprooting both our lives? I'm proposing making the best of a difficult situation. Getting you the best care while continuing my career. After consideration, John agreed. Boston. But not because I need to be taken care of, because it's the right medical choice. And because I'm not ready to face this alone. The admission cost him, but in acknowledging vulnerability, something new emerged between them. There's one more thing, John added. Before we leave, I want to meet with the CDC team. If sharing my case can prevent someone else from going through this, I want to do it on my terms. 3 months later, Boston. Autumn painted Boston Common in fiery colors visible from John's physical therapy room. He sat before a mirror, methodically working through exercises to strengthen partially regenerated facial nerves. Good, Mr. Watson. Now try to raise the right corner of your mouth again, instructed his therapist. John focused intently. The right side responded weakly, lifting perhaps half as much as the left. That's improvement, the therapist encouraged. Definite improvement from last week. Still looks like I've had a stroke, John observed matter-of-factly. After therapy, John met Michael for lunch in the hospital cafeteria, their new routine. Michael immersed in his fellowship, John dividing time between medical appointments and slowly building a new life. Dr. Chen wants to schedule the 2nd reconstructive procedure for next month, John mentioned. She's pleased with how the first one healed. You feel ready? John considered seriously. The first procedure had addressed damaged tissue near his eye, restoring his ability to close his eyelid completely. Ready as I'll ever be. Though I'd appreciate you being there if your schedule allows. I'll make it allow, Michael promised. Wild horses couldn't keep me away. John smiled at the familiar phrase, one of Sarah's favorites that Michael had unconsciously adopted. That evening, in their shared apartment, John unpacked the final boxes from Florida. Among Robert's belongings were bird-watching journals, photographs, treasured mementos of a life now transformed. Michael helped sort through items, giving his father space to process memories. You two have come a long way, their neighbor Martha observed. When you first moved in, there was tension. John nodded. Nothing like a face full of parasites to reset a relationship. As they worked, John found himself reflecting on the journey. The terror, the pain, the loss of dignity, but also the unexpected gifts. A son who had become a partner in healing. Strength he never knew he possessed. Wisdom to find meaning in suffering. Later, Michael emerged from his room. I'm proud of you, Dad. Not just for how you've handled all this, but for the person you've become. John looked up, emotion welling. I learned from the best. Your mother taught me empathy. You've taught me that it's okay to lean on someone else. That night, John stood before the bathroom mirror, performing his exercises without self-consciousness. He studied his reflection critically but not unkindly. The face looking back was not the one he'd worn for 62 years. This was the face that had emerged from an unimaginable ordeal. Forever changed, but still unmistakably his. Good enough, he told his reflection. In his bedroom, John found himself drawn to Sarah's photograph on the nightstand. You wouldn't recognize me now, he murmured. But I think you'd recognize who I've become. Sleep came easier these days. No nightmares of invasive creatures. Tonight, John drifted off with quiet accomplishment. Boxes unpacked, memories honored, future embraced. Tomorrow would bring challenges, another doctor's appointment, more physical therapy, continued adaptation. But tonight, in an apartment filled with connections to his past and evidence of his present, John Watson rested. The parasites had changed his face but failed to alter his core. The nurse, the father, the widower, the fighter who had emerged from crisis with deeper understanding of vulnerability and strength. In the quiet apartment, as Boston's autumn night settled around them, father and son slept under the same roof. No longer caregiver and patient, but partners in the continuing journey of recovery. The worst was behind them. The future, with all its uncertainties and possibilities, awaited. Reflection. Sometimes life's greatest challenges become our most unexpected turning points. John's harrowing journey from hospital emergency to healing reminds us that even our darkest moments can lead to profound transformation. Through his ordeal, he discovered what truly matters: the son who became his partner in healing, the strength he never knew he possessed, and the wisdom to find meaning in suffering. What unexpected crisis has transformed your life in ways you now see as valuable? Share your story of resilience in the comments below.